Hey guys, my name is Matsumo, and welcome to your episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming-related questions, and then I'll give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, if you'd like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. The first question for today is, do you think that the shoddy changes on the technical test server in Rainbow Six Siege are too powerful? Did they go too far? So this was definitely a very unexpected buff. People sort of stumbled across this change on the technical test server. I don't think there was an official response on Ubisoft. It definitely wasn't in the patch notes, or at least I don't believe so, where basically the shoddies are a lot more consistent. According to people that have actually tested this out, the spread on the hipfire on a lot of them is a lot narrower, and so your shots are actually going where you're aiming. And so this makes it a lot more reliable for you to get that one-shot takedown. And so for a lot of people, me included, it's made these weapons a lot more enjoyable to use. I was already noticing when I was playing with the Supernova, which was normally only available to Habana and Echo, which no one used because it really wasn't all that great, but now all of a sudden it's available to Amaru, and it just feels fantastic. Running that with the SMG-11 is an awesome combo. You can take people out at long range with the secondary. You can switch on over to the shoddy to either open up hatches, open up walls, or you just simply use it up close. Like, it was a really fun combination, and it was probably due in part because of this change. Now, the question is, though, does this make them overpowered? One of the things that's very difficult about balancing out the shoddies in this game, and I think it's something that they've struggled with for a really long time now, is the whole one-shot mechanic. Because they need to be able to one-shot up close, because if they don't, they're completely worthless, but because in a game like Rainbow Six Siege that relies on headshots, you need to be able to aim to be able to get those one-shots with every other weapon. If you make them too powerful and one-shot at extreme distances, then everyone's gonna gravitate towards that weapon type. If you don't need to get a headshot anymore and you can just body shot them, which is a lot easier, why would you want to use any other weapon? On the other hand, though, and I think this is the biggest reason why people have been gravitating away from using shoddies for the longest time, is that they're just simply incredibly inconsistent. Even when you're using it in its proper situation, up close and personal, they're 5 feet away, if you aim for the chest and you get a hit marker, even though you're hip firing, you should still be able to one-shot them. To essentially get a hit marker and not one-shot them is incredibly infuriating. It makes you not want to use shoddies ever again. It's like, I'm using them properly, but you're not rewarding me for doing so. With all that being said, though, I've really enjoyed these changes. The shoddies are just now a lot more fun to use. I've been enjoying my time with it, but the only way I could tell you if they're overpowered or not is to spend a significant amount of time. Like, it takes a while for a meta to be established, and so I don't think that we're in the same place that we were when Frost was first introduced with the Super 90, for example. It's nowhere near that state, but they did feel like they were in a much more comfortable position, which I'm on board with. Now, the funny thing about all of this, though, is that it looks like this may have been an unintended upgrade. On the technical test servers, their patch notes, Ubisoft has a brief little blurb that states that they're investigating the spread of shoddies, and this has a lot of people thinking that this wasn't something that they wanted to do. And so let me know what you guys think on this topic. I know a lot of people out there really want shoddies to get some love because right now they do feel underwhelming, but a lot of people out there just don't simply like the mechanics of getting one-shotted up close, and so do you think that this is something that they should look further into? Give me your guys' thoughts down below. The next question is, have you had a chance to play the new Modern Warfare, and if so, what did you think? I've been trying to keep my expectations low for the new Call of Duty and not get too hyped, but I actually did have a chance to play the alpha, and I was really impressed. One of the things that immediately jumps out to you is that this is a different feeling Call of Duty, and it really just comes down to the actual weapons themselves. They feel really meaty and heavy, not only from the sound design, but also the recoil itself. Like, it's really fun to use these weapons. Now, granted, there was only a couple available in the alpha on PlayStation, but the ones that were available were incredibly satisfying to use. The gameplay itself just feels more grounded. Like, obviously they're going for a more realistic approach. This is a slower Call of Duty. You can still run around. Like, don't get me wrong, there were people that were jumping around all over the place, and that was still a viable option, but it definitely seems like they're going for a more slower pace gameplay, and the result of it, at least for me, was very gratifying. Now, that doesn't mean that it was a perfect experience, though. Even though I'm really excited to get my hands on the larger game modes, I already noticed some problems. One of them is that it didn't seem like it was the most optimized experience. On the map Pine in particular, I was noticing frame drops. Like, in a 2v2 mode, on a tiny map like this, having frame rate issues is a bit concerning. I also noticed that there was a fair amount of lag. Like, I was getting taken out around corners every once in a while. It didn't happen nearly as much as something like the Battlefield franchise back in the day, but it was definitely something that I noticed. The reason why this gives me a bit of pause, and hopefully it does you too as well, is that if this is only 2 versus 2 and they're running into some optimization and lag issues, what's gonna happen when they bump it up to 20v20 or 50v50 like they've advertised? And so all I can say is that I'm really looking forward to this upcoming beta. Yes, it was an alpha. Who knows what an alpha means anymore? Alphas and betas now are interchangeable with just being a demo, but I am really looking forward to this upcoming PC beta to sink my teeth into, and I think they've even stated that there will be these larger modes. If everything goes smoothly and they don't have any large glaring network lag or performance issues, I could see this being a Call of Duty that I really get invested in. I enjoy the Battlefield franchise. I've been a fan of Battlefield for the longest time, but if COD is able to have their own twist on that with large-scale action, but with that Call of Duty flair, like, I'm gonna jump ship. Like, I want that experience. Battlefield has been struggling, and so I'm really crossing my fingers that they're going to be able to deliver, but obviously we are gonna have to wait and see. The next question comes from Shinobi, and it is, what do you think about a new operator in Siege that's similar to Rook, but instead of armor, he gives the defensive team some sort of super attachment for their primary, like maybe extended mags or a laser sight that the enemy can't see, a bipod, etc. That is a really interesting concept. For the longest time on Sunday Mailbox, I get questions along the lines of, do I think that there should be an extended mag customization option? And I'm usually not on board with it because it would usually just be the preferred option and would just make the customization more complex. On top of that, a lot of people have recommended, do I think that there should be an operator that can lay down a bag of rounds that people can resupply from? And usually I don't like that because I don't think anyone would want to pick this operator over all of the other amazing defensive characters. As soon as you combine those two different ideas, things get a little bit more interesting. If you were able to give everyone on defense an extended mag that allowed them to have like 5 or 10 extra rounds before they had to reload, that could be a decent upgrade, especially for certain players out there that maybe don't have the best aim and accuracy. There's so many moments when I'm playing with a certain class that has a lot of rounds where I will feint that I'm about to reload, they'll round the corner, but I have a couple extra rounds and I'm able to take them out because of that. Or just simply not having to reload. Like, there are some weapons in this game, like the SMG-11, for example, where if it had like 5 extra rounds at its disposal, or even 10, I don't, that might be pushing things a bit too far, that weapon would all of a sudden become significantly better. The thing about it, though, is that that's all they bring to the defensive team. They're not gathering any information. They're not actually allowing their team to absorb any more damage like Rook. They're kind of more offensive oriented. Now, the one concern I have with someone like this, and the reason why we may not see an operator like this introduced into Siege, is that there's literally no counter or dynamic between the two different sides. Yeah, you could drone them out at the very beginning and realize, oh, hey, everyone now has a better primary weapon. You can let everyone know, like, you need to watch out for that, but that's really about it. One thing that Ubisoft has been trying to accomplish for quite some time is to have those strengths and weaknesses to gadgets so that depending on what side you're on, as long as you know who you're going against, you can hopefully push that into your favor. There's really no counter here. Now, you could argue that's the way that Rook works, but even Rook has a counter because the one-shot headshot mechanic, but even still, like, he is a base operator. Like, he was introduced in the game a long time ago, and they've learned since then. And so as soon as you introduce someone like this into Siege, you basically just make everyone on your team significantly better. And so I don't really know if that sits well with me. And so all in all, I think this is a really cool concept. I really like the idea of having someone introduced that makes your team better in some capacity, but I don't know for those very reasons if Ubisoft would want to go down that path, but of course that is just my opinion. The next question comes from Jarrett, and it is, what are your thoughts on an operator with a long rollout breaching charge, maybe 7 to 10 meters long? One, he can roll out and blow open a stretch of floor or roll towards shields or barbed wire to destroy in a 10-meter stretch. That sounds incredibly powerful. Being able to open up literally basically the entire floor above the objective room and then see everything below is going to make it very difficult for the defensive team to be able to do anything about it. Like all of a sudden, everything above you is now exposed and they have a clear line of sight on everything down below, might be a bit too strong. One of the balancing acts with someone like Buck and Sledge, and I think this is the reason why we may never see someone like this, is that they're only able to open up a small section of a soft surface. This makes it so that defense can actually react. Can you imagine if Sledge just opened up like a 10 meter section of a wall instantaneously? Like there's nothing defense is going to be able to do in that kind of a situation. Now, granted, it is more limiting because you would only be able to, have vertical gameplay, and that's something that clearly Ubisoft enjoys. Clearly, they like to have a lot of verticality, but being able to open up just a large swath of the objective floor seems a bit too much. And so all in all, while I really like the idea conceptually, it sounds awesome being able to roll this out and take care of an entire hallway of barbed wire, but I really do think that it'd be overpowered, at least from the way that I'm looking at it. Yeah, guys, that is what it for today's episode of Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about what we discussed in today's video. Are you excited about the new COD? Are you a little hesitant? Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. As always, if you'd like to submit your own question for an upcoming episode, you can always leave a comment or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. But until next time, guys, have a good one and take it easy.